So we're going to get started with questions. I'm going to introduce myself first. I am Holly Farbo. I am the Academic and Industry Relations Manager of Hygiene for Aspen Dental. I have been a hygienist for 21 years. I can't believe that, but it's true. And I have worked with Aspen for 2 years. The first year was as an Aspen hygienist in an office in Pennsylvania. And now I'm on the academic team. So you're going to see me look back and forth. I have questions here if people ask questions or I've asked questions. So if I'm looking back and forth, that's why. And so we have two amazing hygienists on today from Pennsylvania. And I'm going to start with Summer. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Summer, and tell us how you got to Aspen.
Well, my name is Summer Earle. I've been with Aspen for about 6.5 years. I started right out of college. I went to West Virginia University, which is about 30 minutes outside of Uniontown. So when I graduated, there was a job opening and I've never looked back.
Perfect. Okay, Pearl.
My name is Pearl. I've been a hygienist for about 4 years, and I've been with Aspen for about 1.5 years now. And I couldn't imagine really being anywhere else after some obviously bad offices that we all encounter. Aspen has been one of my favorites. So
Perfect. Great. So I'm going to start off with a question that everybody asks, and some people know and some don't. But what exactly is a DSO?
It's a dental service organization.
Okay.
So that would be like a corporate dental office, such as Aspen Dental.
Okay. And so why, I'll ask you both this, why Aspen versus another DSO? Is there a reason that you've chose Aspen, Summer?
Well, it just actually worked out as luck for me. I started out with Aspen. I'm very happy here. I have no reason to look to go anywhere else. So I can't speak for looking to work at another corporate office, but as far as Aspen goes, if I were to leave my office and go to another one, I know that the mission's the same and the flow's the same.
Perfect. Pearl, how about you?
I've actually had the pleasure of working in 2 different corporate offices, one Aspen, one a different. And Aspen definitely runs smoother, more ethical, I should say. So there is a little bit of difference between corporate offices alike and also private practice offices.
Okay. So in the office, how many hygienists do you usually have? So Summer,
I'm a one-person hygiene office.
Okay, and for you, Pearl?
I can work alone, but the office I work in now, we have 2 hygienists and also 2 doctors.
Okay, so when you have 2 hygienists, Pearl, how does that work and how does that structure go?
So the structure is pretty nice. We each have our own column of patients, but if I ever get backed up, my co-hygienist, Amy, she's fantastic. So we help each other out. We'll both get doctors for exams. It's a nice team atmosphere with 2 hygienists.
Okay, and are you co-leads or do you have one lead and one associate there?
The way that we're doing it now is both of us are considered leads. We both make our own money and both kind of do our own schedule. We're in charge of our own schedule.
Okay. So if a hygienist came in as an associate, how would they go about getting into a lead hygiene role? How does that play out?
Showing initiative, working very hard, doing what's best for the patient is the biggest thing. We care very much about that. So if you show that you care about the patient and you're recommending, hey, you know, doctor said you need a crown here, we definitely recommend it. If you keep doing things like that, you'll be a lead in no time.
Okay, perfect. So here is a question that was asked, and of course with the times now, we'll start with Summer and then Pearl, you can answer this also. How has your patient appointment changed with COVID?
Well, it's definitely gotten more lengthy, the check-in process in particular. We have our patients call in from the parking lot. We don't let anyone in the waiting room. So when they call in, there's a series of questions that ask before we can even bring them in the office. I go and greet them in the parking lot. I bring them back to the hygiene room. Their temperature is taken, a consent form is signed, and they swish with either Listerine or peroxide, whatever we have available. From then, we move them to the x-rays. Their x-rays are taken, and then they're brought back to the hygiene room. So it takes a lot longer to start the appointment, but we just have to do what we can to keep everyone safe.
Okay, perfect. Pearl, how about you? Anything different with you?
No, we basically, we do the same thing. I luck out, I have an x-ray room in my, or an x-ray machine in my room, so I don't need to bring them to any other room. Definitely the cleanliness takes, I don't want to say longer because we've always been clean, but we wipe spray every single thing that anything would ever touch. There's nothing on the counters anymore. So we definitely went above and beyond making sure that patient safety and our safety is number one.
Perfect. And do you feel that you have adequate PPE? How does that work with ordering supplies?
I think we do. We have gowns, we have the N95 masks, we have level 3 to wear on top, we have the hair nets, we have the booties, and of course gloves and face shields.
Perfect. Same for you, Pearl? Everything's been good that way?
We actually don't order. Aspen sends us what we need just automatically. If they find it and we need it, they're sending it to us. We have boxes of gowns. We're changing them in between every patient. We have plenty of masks. We have plenty of face shields. Nothing to go without, that's for sure.
And I think one of the other things, and I'm just going to throw this in there, is they have the initiative, the Smile, Wide Smile Safe Promise, which is, I believe that you guys should have 30 days of PPE on stock at all times, so that you're never out of it. So that's another initiative that Aspen is taking. So again, another question that's always asked is, do you work on commission?
No, I'm paid hourly, but there is an incentive that we can work towards.
Okay. And how about your benefits? What type of benefits do you have?
I take advantage of all the benefits. I have health insurance, vision insurance, dental insurance, short-term disability, 401k. I have 3 weeks paid vacation, personal leave, and paid holidays.
Perfect. How many patients are you required to see a day? Pearl? Or go ahead, Summer, you go first.
Sure. We're not required to see a certain number of patients a day. We would like a full schedule because we want to be busy, but we're not going to get in trouble if we don't see a certain amount.
Okay. Pearl, how about you in a double hygiene?
I agree with a double hygiene office. It is harder sometimes to keep a full schedule, but we have walk-ins, so that helps. So if somebody walks in and says, hey, I want my teeth cleaned, and if we have time, we're like, yeah, sure. It's all about patient care, getting the patients in as soon as we can to get them treated properly.
And so following up on that question, and this happens, I've heard this a lot at different offices. Do you have to clock out and go home if you don't have a patient?
No.
No, never. So you have a guaranteed hours?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So let me just start with Summer, and since you're in a single hygiene office, run through what is your average day like, as far as, how you see patients, new patients, in a single hygiene office.
So I'm pretty busy. Even if my schedule looks like I'm busy. We start the day with a huddle where, myself, the doctor, the assistants, we're all talking about what patients are coming in. If Doc and I share a patient, we can work that out with whatever questions we have. But I always start with my hygiene patient. And then there's, of course, a full load of new patients that I have to see. So I just have to time manage to, finish what I'm doing in my production chair and make time to get up, clean myself off, go do a new patient exam, and just keep rolling.
Okay. And so for you, Pearl, in a double hygiene office, what's an average day look like for you guys?
The average day is way less busier than Summer's office. I've actually been to her office and it's sometimes quite busy. But our office, again, Amy and I work very well as a team. So if I am, hands deep in a patient and I can't leave, Amy will take a new patient. Or if I'm running behind, again, Amy will take a new patient or one of my patients and I'll see a new patient. So not as busy as Summer's, but still. Today I was by myself and it was a little busy in the morning, and then the afternoon you get a little bit of a breather sometimes.
Okay. So do you guys work Saturdays? How does that work in your offices? Summer?
Yes, generally we work one Saturday a month. Dr. Check and myself decided until the end of the year to do 2 Saturdays. And that was just something that we decided to try to catch up on all the patients that I'm behind on because we weren't working for several months. But that was my decision. I was asked if I wanted to work an extra Saturday a month. I wasn't forced to.
Okay. For you, Pearl?
I only work one Saturday a month, and I'm the lead. So I will work every Friday and then one Saturday a month.
Okay, perfect. And just a side note, and I think this goes back to the DSO and what Aspen does, is that our offices are owned by the dentist. And so for the DSO part of it, the dental service or dental support organization, me on the ADMI side, I'm the support. So that is anything that is non-clinical. So for you guys to be able to, focus on the patient, and for us doing recruiting and marketing and all of the other things like that, which again comes back to the doctor owns the office. He or she can decide, pretty much their schedule. So I'm sure that your offices may be open different times. So Summer, what's your office hours like?
So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, we are open from 7:30 to 5. Wednesday is 9 to 7, and
Okay.
Friday is 7:30 to 1.
Okay. How about for you, Pearl?
I am 7:30 to 5 with an hour lunch. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. On Fridays, we're there 7 to 12. And Wednesdays are 10 to 7, and our Saturday schedule's 8 to 1. So not too bad at all.
Right. Okay, so for a new hygienist coming into your office, what is the training like? What kind of a training process do you go through with them?
So it's generally a 2-week training period inside of an office where you're with a veteran hygienist and she trains you how she sees fit. But once you go through those 2 weeks where you're in an office and you're practicing and you're getting the flow down and you go back to your own office, eventually you get sent to what's called HOP, which is generally, whenever I went, it was in Syracuse, but I think it might be in Chicago now.
Yeah, I think they're doing Chicago. Yeah.
That's when you go and you get classes on the business side of Aspen Dental.
Okay. Pearl, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what HOP is and what that means?
Yeah, HOP it's fantastic. I actually went to the one in Chicago, and you learn so much more about the products that we want to offer the patients, like MI paste, Prevident, things like that. So you get way educated, almost like a refresher from hygiene school, but not as detailed in that. But you also get a good understanding on how to run your hygiene business. And that's the biggest thing that I love.
Right. And so one of the biggest things that was an issue when I first came to Aspen was I have to sell. I never felt like I had to do that. I felt like, the products that we used, directly related to the treatment that people needed. So I'll start with Summer. What types of products do you use and recommend to your patients?
My 2 favorite products would be the Oral-B electric toothbrush and MI paste. And I believe myself that there is no such thing as a patient who doesn't need both of those.
Right. I get you. Pearl, how about for you? What's your, general, what you recommend to patients?
I definitely, with the oral cancer screening, oral cancer is the only cancer that's actually on the increase instead of the decrease. And I mean, we need to be way more effective at treating oral cancer, or at least detecting it. So that's my number one. And my number two, actually, I would have to say, except MI paste, I'll pick a different one, is bleaching, because there's so many unsafe bleaching products. Let's recommend a safe bleaching product for them. So I'm very big on the safety of getting what people want, like whiter teeth.
Right. Okay, so following up on that question, there's a question then, other than cleanings, what other services are you required to do as a hygienist in the office? Summer, go ahead and you can start there.
So as far as services go, would be bleaching is one of them. We do in-office and take-home. And then we focus a lot on the iTero scanning, which can be used for many things, the top one being Invisalign, but the big thing that we use it for is patient education.
Okay. Pearl?
You also have to, well, at least what I do in my office is for implants, I change the O-rings out. Any service that needs done that I can help out with, it doesn't matter if it's assisting doctor or, like Summer said, bleaching. We're all here to help and do what's, again, best for the patient.
Okay. So with our new patients, and this was something that was new to me coming out of a private practice, we see our new patients a little differently. So Summer, do you want to kind of go down and explain how you see a new patient compared to some of the private practices that just as a new patient just come in and get their cleaning the same day?
So the new patient exam is actually my favorite part of Aspen Dental because it makes everything clear cut to the patient. But on a patient's first appointment, they're there solely for their new patient exam. So an assistant takes a pan on them and a full mouth series. They take all their health history information, everything's put in the computer. When that's all done, they come and get me. I go in, I review their x-rays, review their health history, do a full perio chart, and discuss their hygiene. Are they a pro feed? Do they need gingivitis treatment? Do they need 4 quads of scaling? Go over all of those things, review the x-rays, patient education, treatment questions. And then once I leave the room, the doctor goes in, reiterates my treatment, and then does a full exam. So when the patient leaves and they come back to see me, I don't have to worry about them knowing what they're getting done, knowing what they're paying for, because they have had that all laid out for them already.
Okay. So you are able to create your own treatment plan for what you see fit, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for you, Pearl, in a double hygiene office, how does the new patient exam go? Is that something that you specifically do, or do you guys both see new patients?
We actually will both see new patients separately most of the time, but I love when Amy and I get to see a new patient together because we can bounce off each other. I can say, hey, smoking is a big risk factor for gum disease. If you ever think about quitting, let us know. So we feed very well to be able to explain the treatment to the patient.
Okay, perfect. So we did go over this question, but I had this question again since somebody just joined. And so maybe we can elaborate a little bit on this, is that they're asking about the pay rate again. Is it commission? Do you get hourly? Can you maybe explain that a little bit more and let us, how that works as far as your pay?
So if we were to take in consideration my last month, where I had a very good month, I produced over 40,000. With my bonus, my pay rate per hour was $42 an hour.
Okay. So you get an hourly rate, but you get bonus also, correct?
Plus you get an hourly increase on your bonus. Yeah.
Okay. And Pearl, so I think a lot of times what the kid, and this was me too, is I didn't want to have to work at an office where I was not sure of what I was going to be making every week. So for example, if you work on your production, what if you don't do well? So at Aspen, we get an hourly rate that's never reduced. We can only go up, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you get an hourly rate pretty much based on the area that you live in, depending on the area. So if we have, Pennsylvania may be a little different than I'm in Colorado now, and I know that it's a lot higher, but there's a different cost of living. So it's based off that, and then you go off of bonuses. Do you want to kind of, and I know this is a little bit difficult to explain, and sometimes it gets a little, but as far as the bonus structure, how does that work?
It's through gross profit. So you take the number, and I'm not exactly sure on the math equation, but basically the number that you actually produce minus all your write-offs and in-network discounts, things like that, minus your supply costs comes out, and your hourly wage. And then after they do some math, they come up with your incentive, which is a dollar amount that
Yes.
we get.
And
How they get it, I don't know.
Pearl, do you, you have,
There's actually a report you can run if you ever become a hygienist for Aspen, so you never have to question how much am I getting as a bonus for doing so well. Like Summer did very well. Johnson also did very well. So when we got our bonuses for last month, you know, it was pretty substantial, but you can check that if, you know, on that report.
right. And one other thing is I used to love is that honestly, it wasn't hard to bonus. I mean, you have to, you know, you have to do what's right by the patient. You have to make sure that your schedule is scheduled properly, a smart scheduling, which we do have the smart scheduler, and we can have you guys explain that. But, you know, they don't make it impossible for you to actually get a bonus, which is really nice because, you know, you're getting your hourly rate, which you're guaranteed, and then that bonus, which sometimes is more than your hourly rate, which is really nice, you know. So how does the smart scheduler work?
So our smart scheduler basically dictates what can go on our schedule per day. So we want higher appointment amounts more so than smaller ones. So whenever, say, our front desk is scheduling and a patient's coming in for an average recall, it's only going to put them in on days where we only have, say, 3 already scheduled. We're not going to slam our schedule with profies all day long, because then we're going to be working our tail off but not producing any money.
Okay. So does your doctor do an exam on every single patient, or how does that play out?
No, and that's the beauty of the new patient exam. Most of my patients that are in my schedule per day already had their exam a couple of days prior. So I'm not being held back by waiting on the doctor to come in my room because they already saw the doctor 2 days ago. So I see them, get them out.
Correct. Pearl, same for you?
Yeah, same for me. The big thing is profies are still important. I definitely want to stress that, but the smart schedule makes it easier for the doctor. If he has, let's say, 7 exams, but he has 2 full columns, he can't be able to be in 7 exams with me all day. So the smart schedule actually makes the doctor's life just a little bit easier on that.
Okay. And what software system do you use in the offices? Is it Dentrix, EagleSoft, which a lot of people are used to, or is it our own, which I know the answer,
it is our own.
Okay. And how does that work? I mean, like, what is it? How's it structured? And it's hard to explain also, but is it similar to something that you've used in the past, or?
To be honest, most of my career, I've only worked at Aspen. I've used EagleSoft maybe once and Dentrix maybe once. So I don't really have a lot to compare it to. I think that our own system could be way easier than it is, but it's like anything else. It is what it is. You figure it out.
Right. Pearl, how about for you?
It is way easier than Dentrix, but it's very similar with the way it's kind of outlined. But I do like that everything's labeled. Like there's like a little toolbar and you can click on medical history and vitals and everything else. So it is labeled quite easier than Dentrix, but very similar.
Okay. So going back to Summer, I believe mentioned the iTero machine. So, you know, part of our job is to try to explain the patient's disease process. And that's a lot of times that's difficult for them to understand. They don't want to believe it because they've either not been to the dentist in 10 or 20 years, or they've been to a dentist that only ever did profies on them. So explain a little bit, we'll start with you, Summer, on how you go about explaining and what tools you use to your new patients when they have disease.
So we do use the iTero scan, which is great, but I use the intraoral camera all of the time because I know that a patient does not believe a word that I am telling them unless I show it to them. And even though the iTero is great, it doesn't take away from an actual picture that a patient can see. That's my mouth. How are we going to fix it?
Okay. Sorry, there was like a weird ambulance behind me. It was making a weird noise. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pearl. How about for you?
I don't use the intraoral camera too much. I use a lot of the x-rays, but the iTero scan, because they'll be like, oh my goodness, is that my mouth? What's that gray thing there? Like, what's that black thing? I'm like, well, that's a old filling. So it brings up other things that patients want to fix because they can actually see a different side of their mouth. They can see, inside of their mouth.
Yes, and I agree. I love that. It was, when you actually would start to, and they say this when we did our Artero scan training, was that people start to actually diagnose themselves when they see stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That needs fixed. So talk about a little bit, what kind of training do you get? Like when new technologies come out, or like with the new guidelines for the periodontal classifications, how does Aspen, what do they do for you in that aspect? How do they train you?
They usually set up a CE course for us where we all meet in a restaurant, a hall, someplace where they set up for us and we all get to go, and whoever comes in and explains it to us.
Okay. And as far as CE, Summer, do we offer CE?
Yes, Aspen offers CEs. There's a place online where you can go to take them free of charge.
Perfect. So unlimited CEs in our webinars. Pearl, how is, you know what? I just lost my train of thought. So just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm still I'm in mountain time zone. It was going to be about training. How about for like CPR classes? How do we offer that for our employees?
Yes, your whole office can actually do CPR classes together. So then you're all done at one time and then you all just keep renewing together.
Okay, so on our system, we have what is called the bridge, which is something that we're all familiar with. Can you explain a little bit, Summer, we'll start with you, about how you use the bridge and what that does for you and what it is?
The bridge is where you find everything. Anything you need to know is on the bridge. That's how you clock in. That's where you get your email. That's where you get consent forms. That's where you get to all of your reports. That's where you look up other offices. Pretty much anything you need in Aspen Nation is on the bridge.
Okay. And for you, Pearl, is there something specific or what you like the best about it?
Yeah, you can print out your own pay stubs right there. I do love, obviously, the email, but I also love, you get a report card. So it shows you, hey, do you have an A+? And then you get, some money for that, or an A. So you can see what you want to do better on to increase your scorecard. So I like to look at that.
Perfect. So we, as Aspen employees, know what metrics mean and what they do for us. Believe it or not, that was one of my favorite parts of Aspen, is actually seeing the metrics, because it gave me something to see how I was gauge my months and how I was doing. So do you want to explain a little bit about our metrics and what they're actually for? Summer, do you want to start with that?
So our metrics help us gauge the way we're running our business and how well we're running it. And, we start from the beginning. At the beginning of the month, we start at 0 and then we just move up. But every day it'll show you what you produced. It'll show you every procedure that you did. And then it'll show you for the month. So it'll say, okay, you saw 68 prophies this month so far. You did 84 quads of scaling. You sold this many power brushes. And the most important thing that we try to look at, or they want us to look at, is what money we've produced.
Okay. So when we talk about support, of course, dental support, we have so much support in hygiene. And just being on this end and seeing, across the country, other DSOs and other offices, the support that the hygienists get in Aspen is second to none. So Pearl, I'll ask you this question. What support roles for you are there? And specifically, I'm talking about the territory hygiene manager. So can you explain a little bit about what your territory hygiene manager does for you?
Yeah, my territory hygiene manager, she's awesome. We text quite regularly, make sure that everything's going okay. Is my business on track? Let's say I did really good in something. She'll make a little shout out, like Johnstown was #1 in doing iTero scans. So of course we get a little shout out to just make you feel better and guide you in the right direction. But she's also there just in case if something happens and somebody's mistreating you, or, you know, maybe not guiding you the way you need to be, like, shown. She's there for the good and the bad, I should say.
Right. And so as a hygienist that may want to move on for something non-clinical, Summer, what other options might there be in Aspen for that?
There's a lot of opportunity in regards to moving forward with your career, one of them being the hygiene manager. You can even move on to the office side if you want, be a regional. Really, wherever you want to go, you can go.
So a little backstory, we have she is one of the top people in our organization, which is Lori Deanna. She started as a dental assistant. She became a hygienist. No, sorry. She went from dental assistant to, I believe, office manager, hygienist. Anyway, she made her way up and she is now like second in command at Aspen. So, I mean, there's always a role, and I'm one of those roles that we have, which is nice because you kind of stay in that system, you know. And of course, if you just, you know, if you want to be into clinical hygiene, there's places you can move up as far as lead, and, you know, there's always something you can do. Talk a little bit about a float position. What does that position look like? Because some people ask us about, you know, I don't necessarily want to be full-time. Do you have part-time or what? You know, so give me an idea of what a float is.
I floated for, oh my goodness, about a year, and I loved every second of it. So you get to go to a lot of different offices. If I need off a Wednesday, Lisa's like, hey, no problem, you're off a Wednesday. But I also got to see and learn new things from other hygienists and how other doctors run as well. The other great thing about floating is you are compensated greatly. So if you want to work hard and you want to, like, make some money, float, because that's where it is. It's definitely fantastic.
Yeah, and I did that too, just a couple of times. And what I liked is, I mean, they pay for your travel to the office you're going to. You know, your incentive is a little better just because you're in that office for a short period of time with the amount of supplies you use. I loved floating also. I probably would have considered doing that if I didn't come to this job, is to actually float. So if you like to travel at all, that's always something that you can look into. Do you guys do laser treatment for perio? I know sometimes that's a little, you know, people are starting to get that. And so how do you guys, have you talked about it, or how are you handling that?
No, we don't do it.
Okay. Any talk on it?
No.
Well, and again, you guys are in Pennsylvania, so things are a little different in every state. So it might be different. So let's go back to the patient appointment. How do you discuss price with a patient? So if you're discussing a treatment plan and their main concern is their finances, Summer, how do you have that conversation with a patient?
I don't. Whenever they bring up the finances, I tell them, once the doctor gets your whole treatment written up, the girls up front will put everything in the computer for you, and they'll be able to break down all of your financial questions.
Good. Pearl, how about you?
I do basically the same thing. For a new patient, I will normally do not talk about cost of treatment. Now, if they're only in for, let's say, a gingivitis treatment, I'm normally pretty confident on, hey, this is your total. Is that okay with you? Do you want to get started right now? So I don't mind too much talking about price, but for scalings, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have my office manager do that.
And, you know, that's another thing that was nice. And at least in our office, we had a treatment coordinator that would go over everything. And that is their job to explain to the patient. Our job is to treat the patient and to diagnose what we feel needs to be done. And a lot of times I would say to my patients, please don't feel overwhelmed. If there's something that needs to be done, I would tell my treatment coordinator or my office manager, come and talk to me first before you just tell them and they say no and you say no, because there may be some other alternative treatment. But it was nice to have that support in the office to be able to say, I'm doing treatment. This is what I look at. Let's have somebody else talk finances and we have options for you, So that always made things nice. Let's talk about the community outreach. Do you guys have, and this is a question that a lot of new graduates, when you're, hygiene school, they do a lot of community outreach programs. So that's a thing that they're very, passionate about, and is important to them to give something back to the community. So Summer, do you want to start with that? And
Sure. The number one thing that comes to mind is our day of service, which is a day once a year that all of Aspen Nation volunteers to give free dental work to veterans. And we work our butts off that day. We see everyone that we can and treat everyone to the best of our ability for free.
Okay. Pearl, do you have any others that we do?
Yeah, actually, my doctor's pretty great. If somebody, let's say they lost their dentures in a house fire, he'll be like, you know what? We're going to make them their dentures for free. And it's great to give back to the community because people fall down sometimes. So if we can give them a new set of dentures so they can go out and chew their food, well, hey, we can definitely do that for them.
Yeah. We also offer which is again, the veterans, which is the mobile mouth unit, which goes around to, I think it's like 12 cities a year and treats veterans for free with our mobile mouth unit. And we do a mission trip once a year that you can apply for as a hygienist. And we take a hygienist, an assistant, and a doctor. And we do that to, I think it was Haiti. I'm not sure where the last one was, but we also do that. So those are really nice programs that we have that give back to the communities. Now, for a long time, and sometimes what I hear is that Aspen is a denture mill. Can you talk a little bit about like the amount of dentures that you do and about our lab that we have on site? Summer, how about for your office?
We do a lot of dentures because that's one of our specialties. And the reason that it's one of our specialties is because we make them in office. So patients want to come see us because we can have them a denture made from beginning to end within 2 weeks. Whereas if they go to a private practice, they're waiting months because everything has to be sent out. So that's the beauty of Aspen. We can do it here in the office, saving the patient time, and they're getting healthy quicker.
Perfect. How about for you, Pearl, in your office? How's your denture?
The last thing we ever want is somebody to have full mouth dentures. That's the last thing. Nobody ever wants to have a lower denture. So we definitely try our hardest to make that not happen. But if it's too much money for them to ever save their teeth, and lower denture and upper denture is where it needs to be, that is the great thing about Aspen. We can remove your teeth and you leave with immediate denture. Private practice, you don't get that. You're without teeth for weeks or months.
Right. And, again, what I liked about our process was that included in the price is your interim denture, is your, transitional denture. That's not an extra cost. So when we give you a cost of a denture, whichever denture you choose, that is included because, like a lot of offices I worked in, it was like, oh yeah, here's your price. Oh, okay. Well, that's less expensive. However, you're going to go without teeth for 12 weeks. If you don't, you have to pay this extra price. So that was also a nice thing that happened. So we talk about culture. Aspen's a big on their culture. What does the culture of Aspen mean for you?
So our culture is that there's no I in Aspen. We're a team and we work together to give every mouth a second chance. We know there's a solution for every mouth. And our number one thing is that we treat every patient like our mother.
Good. That's a great answer. How about for you, Pearl?
The biggest one that obviously in our culture is treating everybody like your mother. Would you want your mom treated this way? So that's a big thing for me. Treat everybody how you would want to be treated.
Okay. So again, this is kind of like always the elephant in the room whenever we talk to, especially students, and, how do you handle negative press? I mean, there is negative press about Aspen. We hear it, we defend it, we've been there ourselves. So, how do you handle negative press, and what do you say to people when they have preconceived judgments about Aspen Dental?
It's a hard thing to deal with. I've never had to deal with negative press, but negative opinions from outside hygienists is definitely a thing. And I know that there's a misconception when it comes for working for a corporate office. And I understand that most of that misconception is that we're here to steal your money. And that is not what we're here to do. Yes, we give you a full comprehensive exam for free. And what the patient decides to do with that information is their decision. But I know that any doctor I've ever worked with at Aspen gave that full treatment plan in the best interests of the patient and not for financial gain.
Right. Okay. Pearl?
The biggest thing I hear is, well, you guys sell things. You sell this. I don't sell anything. If a patient doesn't need something, I don't bring it up. If a patient needs something, we're big on preventative treatment. So that's why I feel a lot of hygienists sell things, because they don't understand the benefits of preventing disease, preventing decay. So that's where a lot of that backlash comes from, especially from other hygienists.
Yeah. And, and again, I'm interjecting this because I worked at Aspen, so I know. So, a lot of the times, patients are undertreated, bottom line, they've been undertreated for years. I've undertreated patients, and it's because it's what became the norm in a lot of offices. You lose, which is why I always love to work with students, because they're so fresh and so, ready and eager to help people. And that's what we're in this business to do. And so that kind of gets pushed by the wayside. A lot of the times I found myself in private practices, basically not feeling valued. And so what I loved about Aspen was that I felt valued for the first time in a long time. And I actually was able to come up with a treatment plan that was what was right for my patients, and trying to make people understand that you have been undertreated for years, and this is really the treatment. And as far as, like you said, Summer, the comprehensive treatment plan, I used to tell my patients, don't get overwhelmed. We're going to give you a comprehensive treatment plan. So what is the average time frame that you see with your patients, Summer, for you, on when the last time they have been to the dentist?
A lot of the time it's 7, 10, 20 years.
Right. Okay.
So then that goes into the price. You haven't been treated in 20 years. We have catching up to do.
Right. For you, Pearl, how about you? What do you normally see for patients?
Normally at least about 7 years, always 5. They always say at least 5 years. And I also tell people, don't get overwhelmed. I mean, we don't have to do everything right now. Let's do it little by little chunks that you can handle. And then we'll end up at this big goal at some point, but it's not all going to be changed by tomorrow. We have to take some time to change it.
Exactly. And, I've heard people complain, oh, they tried to get me to get a loan to do this stuff, but it's not, that these are options that we try to offer you to make this affordable for patients, because it can be expensive. A lot of, the dental insurances don't always pay. People think they have dental insurance. Oh, I have insurance that should pay for everything. And unfortunately it doesn't. So, the options are there for us to try to help you. And so that's another thing that I loved about Aspen, is giving people options and trying to make it affordable, and a plan to come up with.
Access to care.
Access to care, exactly. So if you had to say what's your favorite thing about the way that you're able to treat your patients at Aspen, Summer, what would you think that would be?
My favorite way to treat a patient?
Well, I mean, like what about, it's the way that we do things at Aspen. Like, what's your favorite part of your treatment process with your patients?
Probably that my doctor trusts me, and I know she knows that what I have found myself is true. She doesn't think that I'm over treating or under treating. And if she treatment plans something because I'm not there and I go in the next day and say, you did this wrong, she's completely okay with that.
Right. Pearl, for you?
For me, it would be, we do things ethically. A lot of private practices, honestly, they don't. They don't treat patients how they should be treated. So we at Aspen, we treat people ethically, how they're supposed to be treated. We treat them for the diseases that they have. So that's my number one thing, and I will shout it to the rooftops if I have to.
Right. And I used to tell my patients, we follow the guidelines of, the perio guidelines that were set forth by these these periodontists, to say this is what you have. And because we have the tools to show you, here, you don't believe me, let me show you. And so, following the guidelines is not always done. Not to say that there are many, many, many private practices that are amazing and wonderful, but my 20 years of experience, I found more under treatment than I've ever found what we do at Aspen. We're so thorough and so incredibly, hopefully people are starting to catch on to this is the way that things should be done. So in that aspect, is there ever a time that you would refer a patient out for to a periodontist, or how does that go, Summer, for you?
Yes, I refer patients out to periodontists. If I don't feel that I can do a good job, if the pockets are too deep, I'm not going to take a patient's money. I'm going to send them to a specialist where they can be treated properly. I have no problem doing that.
Okay, for you, Pearl?
We do the same. I would say we refer majority, I think, of all the offices I've ever worked at, we refer quite a bit. The area of Johnstown, we see a lot of very active advanced perio patients.
Right.
So my doctor has no problem me sending them wherever they need to go to get treated.
So basically it's up to you. You're the clinician, you're the licensed professional, you discuss that with your doctor. That's your decision to make, which is, again, nice that you have the freedom to do that. So what other dental procedures, or do we refer out for ortho, endo, or what do you guys have in your office to offer patients as far as other procedures and referrals? Summer.
So we do have an oral surgeon that comes into our office once a month. We also have an endodontist who comes into our office once a month, and we offer Invisalign. But if the patient isn't a candidate for Invisalign, then we will always refer out to an orthodontist.
Okay. How about for you, Pearl?
My office, actually, we refer to Dr. Skoner, who's an endodontist. We refer to him quite a bit. It's a little sometimes easier to get into, but we also have an endodontist that is wonderful at our office. So we leave both options open. Do you want to get referred, or do you want to come in one day a month that we have an endodontist and get treated here? So one-stop shop, kind of.
Okay. So do you see a lot of children in your offices?
No, my doctor isn't particularly comfortable treating children. I have no trouble treating them. I'm happy to see anyone, but that's me. Dr. Check is not comfortable doing that. So I see them for prophies and cleanings and checkups, but if they need restorative work, they're referred out.
Okay. How about for you, Pearl?
It depends on the child. If they just lay back in the chair, they're good to go. We've treated 6-year-olds. If they're comfortable, we can treat them. If they're not comfortable, sometimes a pediatric dentist is just more well equipped to handle things like that. It's just all based on the patient.
And how about insurances? What types of insurances do we take?
We take most major insurances. We don't take anything through the state.
Okay. So no Medicaid or anything. Well, with Pennsylvania, that's what it's called. I'm not sure about anywhere else.
I think we take some Medicaid.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Pearl, how about for your office? Is it the same?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't deal with insurances too much. I let my office manager and my front desk handle that because they're way better equipped at that than I am.
So when you do your new patient exam, do you have help with, because we perio chart on every new patient over the age of, how do you guys do it?
Over the age of 18 in my office.
Okay. Pearl, same for you?
No, I'll do 14 if I need to. I try to perio chart every new patient.
And do you have help doing that with your new patient? How does the dental assistant's role come into play with your new patient exam and perio
In
charting?
my office, the dental assistant that brings the new patient back to do their x-rays pretty much sticks with that patient until the end of their appointment. So they're there for all of their x-rays, obviously, with me when they perio chart, with the doctor when she does her exam. And then once they're out the door, then they can move on to something else.
Okay. Pearl, for you?
We actually do it completely different than Summer does. We have an assistant that takes the x-rays, and then an assistant that does the charting and will help me and helps doctor. And then sometimes I even take the patient up to the OM. So we're kind of at an office where it's, hey, I'll help you, I'll do this. You know, if you do that, everybody's hands are in the pot there.
Which comes back to the, that each individual office has an individual staff. You have your own hygienists and, assistants and front desk and doctor that may have different ideas. So it runs like a private practice, but we're under the Aspen umbrella, which gives you that support. So, one of the things that I loved about HOP and the support that we have, and this comes down to the bridge, is that you have a network of hygienists that is what? 8,000 strong. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge organization, but it feels very small. So, a lot of times in a private practice, you feel like you're on an island. If something goes wrong or you feel like you're the only one or you don't, whatever. But with us, they have, you have all these hygienists that you can ask. So we have very similar things that we do, that it's across the board, but like Pearl and Summer that you showed, it can be very different too. And it's all personal choices, and you have the ability to do that. So we're going to wrap up here. I'm just going to give you one more question, and it's going to be, if you could sum up your career at Aspen in one word, what would it be? Summer, put you on the spot.
Satisfying. Satisfying.
How about for you, Pearl?
Ooh, in one word, I would say encouraging.
Encouraging. That's wonderful. Okay, guys, do you have any other things that you would like to add that I didn't or we didn't get to talk about?
I don't think so, but I really enjoyed this. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes,
Happy to
absolutely.
speak. I'm always bleeding blue.
We bleed blue.
Yeah.
Yes. How about for you, Pearl? Anything else that you'd like to say?
No, not too much. Other than Aspen is the longest dental office that I've ever worked in. So that should go to tell you something that 36 is definitely where they need to be.
That does. Well, I want to thank you both. You've been wonderful. Your questions, your answers have been wonderful. It's exactly what Aspen is about. And so I appreciate that very much, guys. Thank you and have a good night. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.